Welcome to Spiritual Foundations for Life. This is day number 214. In Deuteronomy chapter 32, verses 28 and 29, Moses said that Israel was a nation without sense. There is no discernment in them. If only they were wise and would understand this and discern what their end would be. Wow. Like all the great spiritual leaders in the Bible, Moses was intimate with God and did his best to submit to God's will in all things. The wise person knows the will of God, but the successful person does the will of God. If you're trying to discern God's will and make wise decisions, consider the following questions. Number one, have you prayed about it? Have you prayed about it? The first thing a Christian should do about anything is pray and seek God's kingdom about it. Recall that the Lord's Prayer begins with a desire to establish God's kingdom and do His will in our lives and on this earth. Second, is what you are considering consistent with the teachings of the Bible? See, God has all revealed the majority of His will for your life and my life in His Word. Even in the courts of this land, ignorance of the law is no excuse. So make it a habit to consult the Bible when making decisions. Number three, does the decision or choice compromise your Christian witness? See, if the choice you're considering requires that you compromise your witness or your integrity, then the answer is no, this is not God. It is never right to do something wrong, even if you think something good may come from it. The end, yes, does not justify the means. Number four, will the Lord be glorified through that decision or through that act? Are you seeking the glory of man or the glory of God? Can you do it and still glorify God in your body? Are you more concerned about God's reputation in this situation or yours? Are you trying to build His kingdom or your kingdom? Is God being glorified? Number five, are you choosing and acting responsibly? What is your responsibility and what would be the most responsible course of action to take in this situation? You cannot be in God's will and yet avoid your responsibilities. Making a wise and informed decision is part of your responsibility, and God won't make it for you. Number six, does a reasonable opportunity exist? See, God expects you to think. His guidance may transcend human reasoning, but it never collides with human reasoning. God's guidance never bypasses your mind. He operates through it. 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 20 says, brothers and sisters, stop thinking like children. In regard to evil, be infants, but in your thinking, be adults, be mature. So is there a reasonable opportunity? Number seven, does a realistic opportunity exist? See, closed doors are not meant to be broken down. If you have a hopeless scheme, just let it go. If a realistic opportunity exists and all the other factors are in agreement, then step out in faith. See, God opens windows of opportunity, but they may close if you don't take advantage of them. So is there a realistic opportunity at the moment? Number eight, are unbiased, spiritually sensitive people in agreement with your decision? See, be careful not to consult only with those who are inclined to agree with you, or those who may be afraid to be honest with you. Give people permission to ask you some difficult questions and the right to disagree with you without you getting angry at them. Number nine, do you have a sanctified desire to do it? The greatest joy in life is to serve God and to be in His will. And so you should feel good about doing God's will and want nothing less than doing His will. God's guidance comes with a longing in your heart to do what you've been called to do. So do you have a sanctified desire to do His will? And finally, number 10, do you have peace about it? You should sense an inner confirmation of peace if you're in God's will, and a troubled spirit if you are not. Our key point is the wise person knows the will of God, but the successful person does it. Our key verse, Ephesians chapter 5, verses 15 to 17, be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity, because the days are evil. Therefore, do not be foolish, but understand what the Lord's will is. God bless you. See you tomorrow for another episode of Spiritual Foundations for Life.